Botticelli's priceless masterpiece, destroyed yesterday afternoon by a hooded man armed with a handgun who opened fire on the painting while screaming, "Cursed is the ground for thy sake." Before he was finally overcome by 3 guards and numerous bystanders, the heavily built assailant pumped more than 18 bullets into the nude Venus figure, literally shooting her off the face of the canvas. The acting director of the Uffizi Gallery, which houses the masterpiece, said in an interview last night that it was the most violent attack ever made against a Renaissance painting. Restoration will be impossible.
Sorry, sir. It's against museum regulations to photograph the artwork.
You're kidding.
No, it's against museum regulations to photograph the artwork.
Well, thanks for waiting for me to get all set up to tell me.
Trying to let you in with all that stuff.
Oh, too much.
I mean, the attendant downstairs is actually supposed to see that all photographic equipment is up in the check room.
I don't believe this. You wait until I'm all set up. Tripod bar, camera attached. That's stuff
That
set.
includes binoculars, telescopes.
And then you tell me it's against museum regulations to photograph the artwork?
No, I've seen the attendant downstairs. I should refuse to maintenance of visitors who just had film.
Well, who do I see to get permission to photograph the artwork?
And not just film either, but tape recorders, camcorders, typewriters, sandwiches. Sandwiches.
The administrative
You know, the public's no respect for the place anymore.
the chairman of the board, the curator.
They wear tennis shorts at the church. They should soda pop with the hours. They bring flash
Oh,
cameras.
come on, tell me what I want to see to get permission to photograph the artwork. The cinematic representative, the liaison for public information, the acting president of the exhibition. You have an interesting profile.
You know, I've seen men expose themselves in this very room.
Good cheekbones.
Certain shows just inspire that.
Strong chin.
19th century French Academy news, that's what inspires them. Surprise! Some of the shortest men have the biggest egos. They don't even have to be women to remind them for these shorter men to expose themselves.
Could you please just give me a hint? Administrative staff, curatorial staff.
Very few women expose themselves.
Nice.
Though I have seen a few of the younger women lift up their skirts.
Could you please just tell me where I go to see to get permission to photograph the artworks?
Voici Zachary Moore.
Ah oui, Zachary Moore.
Le public qui s'intéresse à l'art est tenté de voir que Gaines fait la profitant des tendances de la peinture contemporaine.
Il y a un style
Trop très pour
tout à fait.
distinguer l'esthétique du bâtisse. Il est le témoin trop passionné de la créativité diverse qu'il est trop des artistes de notre temps.
Tout à fait, tout à fait.
Il est troublé par la surproduction de la matière peinte. C'est une des singularités les plus cocasses de notre siècle.
Mais Jean-Claude,
Regarde le peinture, qui avons pourtant un différé de toutes sortes.
il y a un style mystique, une fragilité précieuse, une fragilité
Plastique. C'est une fragilité plastique, Françoise.
une fragilité symboliste.
Une fragilité
that gives you permission to photograph the artworks.
Oh, the director.
Yeah, the
It just never occurred to me that the director.
director, yeah. Oh, main floor to the left of the check room.
Regarde, Françoise. La photo d'artiste. Tiens.
We got Patsy a tenant downstairs.
Quelle bouche!
Raoul's a tough looking dude.
C'est un bouche extraordinaire.
C'est comme chimpanzé, c'est pas?
Chimpanzé.
Mais oui, chimpanzé.
Mais voyons, Françoise, qu'est-ce que tu veux dire? Que c'est artiste extraordinaire. Faisant un chimpanzé, un bête sauvage, mais c'est une erreur. Une photographe. C'est incroyable. Excuse me, sir. This photo in my catalog here. There must be some mistake. This is not a photo of the artist. It's a photo of a chimpanzee.
A chimpanzee?
Miss. There must be some mistake. It's not a photo of the artist. It's a photo of a chimpanzee.
C'est tout à fait fantastique.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It sure looks like a chimpanzee to me.
Monsieur, I am shocked. I've never seen such a thing before. Such an insult as this. You should be ashamed.
C'est absolument ridicule.
It's a disgrace.
C'est américain. Now, where are colonial quilts and weather bangs?
You look like a chimp.
Colonial quilts and weather bangs used to be in this room. Right over there.
Colonial quilt weather range?
Yes.
That's that third floor.
The third floor.
Yeah, third floor.
Sugar, are you sure?
Oh, colonial quilt weather range.
Yes.
Yeah, third floor.
Now, I could have sworn they were on this floor. Oh.
Did you hear what happened to Botticelli's Venus this morning? No, what? Some maniac shot it with a gun.
Someone shot it? People don't shoot anything, they flash them.
I heard on the radio this morning. A hooded man pumped 18 bullets into the Venus figure at the Uffizi.
I've never heard of anyone shooting a painting.
You're right. They usually attack them with knives or axes.
Something so alienating about shooting a painting.
And then there was the guy. There were slogans all over the Guernica with a can of spray paint. That's right, spray paint, red spray paint. And he misspelled everything, remember? Carol, Blakey, guys, you're gonna love him. You know, his parents are deaf mutes. Both of them. Profoundly deaf.
Oh no.
Could you imagine what it must have been like growing up with parents who couldn't hear you? I mean, when would you realize that it was their affliction and not yours? How could a baby ever realize there was anything unusual about his parents? And since he never heard them utter a word, he must have assumed he couldn't speak either. He hears all little baby sounds, of course, but he had no idea what they were. When he cried, no one heard him. What if he never did cry? Of course he cried, Blakey. All babies cry, even deaf babies.
Wait, he assumed he couldn't speak either?
Don't forget, his parents could always see him cry. Sooner or later, he must have realized that in order to get their attention, he didn't really have to cry. All he had to do was go through the motions.
If a deaf mute baby heard then they couldn't hear him cry either. Hear the motion?
Not so mute, you know. Some of them can make some sort of residual sound.
When he cried, no one heard him.
But it's not the case exactly with most parents. No, his parents are consigned to absolute and lifelong silence.
Oh my, will you look at that? It's incredible.
When Mo realized that his meandering attempts at speech fell on deaf ears,
This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Man, please do not touch.
It's fantastic.
Don't touch.
Sorry. Imagine thinking of making a clothesline with the bodies left inside the clothes. Yeah. It's a reality grounded in an illusion. You know, this is the first time I've ever been in this museum. There's even a little kid in a t-shirt.
Please do not handle the artworks, ma'am.
I'm not handling the artworks for Pete's sake. I'm just looking. I've lived in this city my whole life, and this is the first time I've ever been in this museum. It's our bodies that give our clothes meaning. Just as, you know, you can always tell the quality of the museum by the view out the window. Do you see this? He even left out the basket of clothespins.
Please do not handle the basket clothes.
If you're not supposed to handle the basket of clothespins, how can artists put them there? Tate Gallery has the worst view of any museum in the world. We put them there so we would touch them. And the view
Je l'ai beaucoup imité.
Et comme Kavitsky aussi.
Monchou, tu sais très bien que je n'aime pas Togash Toutou.
Kavitsky est sombre.
Togash est bête.
Et le style simple comme Kimoto.
Togash est de la saloperie. Je déteste Togash. Togash est de la merde.
Jean-Claude!
Non.
Jerry! The image of people being laundered, washed, soaking wet, pinned up on the clothesline of life to dry out. I designed the museum. There would be no art on display, just windows for the public to come inside the museum to look at the view outside the window. The object of study would be nature itself, as seen through many different types of windows. There'd be drop windows, elevated windows, stained glass windows, open windows, broken windows, bricked up windows, all looking out at exactly the same view. I don't know which I like more, his landscapes or star slopes. And then there would be some windows that weren't really windows at all, but paintings of windows. Now, where would I find the colonial quilts and weather vanes?
Colonial quilt weather vanes?
Colonial quilts and weather vanes.
It's the third floor.
I was told they were on this floor.
Oh, no. See, the broken silence is on this floor.
What?
I said the broken silence is on this floor.
Broken what?
Silence!
Broken quilts.
Colonial quilts and weather vanes is on the third floor.
I got permission from the director.
Colonial quilt and weather vanes on the third floor.
You can see right here, he signed it himself.
Thank you very much, I will.
He was very nice about it. He took my tripod and he invited me back to the next show.
No. Today's the last day of the show.
I know it's the last day, that's why I'm here.
Just as sound and speech were relevant to him, so line and form became irrelevant. Really makes you wonder where he'll go from here.
Sorry. You can't photograph the artwork without permission from the director.
Do you know what this makes me want to do? It makes me want to take these clothes and pin myself right up alongside the others. I'll be lost, wander, all limp and free. But these are peace, cleanse, laughing in the sun. But you don't understand. I want to join them. I want to be cleansed. I want to feel the sun on my face. And then at some point, the structure of the museum would just end, and everybody would suddenly be outside in the view. They would actually become the view. The object was like, you'll stand in line and pay admission to see yourself. When the guards would be hired to watch the people watching each other. Oh my God, I gotta write this down! But he's so proud of him. His parents, so very proud.
On behalf of the trustees of the museum, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to our current exhibition, The Broken Silence. Before we start our tour, let me say a few words about the operation of the cassette you are now wearing around your neck. The small red button on the left allows you to turn me on or off at your own discretion. When you hear this beep sound, it is the signal that my commentary about a specific work is finished and that you may turn the button to the off position and enjoy the painting or sculpture at your own leisure. When you wish to rejoin me, simply turn the button back to on and our tour will continue. If you inadvertently miss any of my remarks and would like to hear them again, switch the red button to off and then turn the adjacent white button to the replay position. My comments will then be repeated until you are caught up and ready to proceed. At that time, just return the white button to play and be sure to remember to flip the red button back to the on position. To raise and lower the volume on the earphone element, just turn the large black dial at the center of the cassette clockwise or counterclockwise. If the quality of your recorded tour is defective in any way, simply exchange it for another cassette at the front desk, main floor, to the left of the check room.
Quelle horreur!
C'est affreux!
Insulte!
Dégoûtante!
Déplorable!
Dépliée!
Décadente!
Déclassée!
Décomposée!
Défective!
Défoncée!
Dégradante!
Dégénérée!
Dégoûtante!
Démorale!
Les vous parties jonglantes!
Moi aussi, Françoise!
Bruce said the show was crap.
Who says everything is crap?
Bruce said this show was especially crap.
Pretentious?
This wasn't my idea.
Ad Reinhardt was doing these in black 10 years ago.
Oh, I never would in a million
And
years.
he's Klein did it in blue before we were even born.
I'm sorry, my taste is more.
It's pure Rauschenberg, sure, but where's the emotion?
Wait a minute. I love Rauschenberg.
Willard, I love him too, but this?
Rauschenberg is a giant.
Rauschenberg is the giant. I just never, no. I like Seagal better.
You do?
Well, don't you?
I thought you said Seagal was shallow.
I never said Seagal was shallow, just a bit, muted for my taste.
Well, what about Dwayne Hanson?
Hanson is, divine.
Oh, please, sir. I have to get to museum regulations to photograph the artwork. Hanson isn't divine so much as insane.
There's another man taking photographs.
Of course, my all-time favorite is
Oldenburg. I knew it. I knew it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
but unless I'm not very mistaken, that man over there is taking photographs.
him.
Yeah.
He had permission.
Oh, he has permission.
Wet dream left out to dry on loan from the Los Angeles County Museum of Art.
There'd be some way I might get to drink as well.
Carol? Lady? Guys?
Oh my! Isn't it terribly loud in here? I can't see a thing.
This has always been a noisy museum, Will.
Guys!
There's some museum in college. Perhaps you can tell me what it is.
Listen. I want permission to photograph the artwork since I'm the director.
Well, the director.
Yeah.
That's curious. Usually it's the administrative assistant who gives permission to photograph the artworks.
No, Willard, look at this. You put real clothespins under an imaginary clothesline, Willard. That is what I call panache.
You mean pastiche, Robert?
Pastiche.
Real clothespins under an imaginary clothesline, Robert.
Oh, Willard, pastiche is collage. I mean a panache. Dash. Robert. The word.
Is Pangea.
Gia.
Paradigm.
Pastiche.
Placebo.
Paradigm.
Oh, where would I find the director again?
Main floor to left of the check room.
Just go to the main floor.
Sir, please do not handle the artworks.
Sorry. Willard, did you read that the Metropolitan Museum of Art is only going to be open 4 days a week?
The Metropolitan.
The museum doesn't have enough money to enforce its laws of 227 security guards.
The Metropolitan has 227 security guards.
Well, yes, the Metropolitan had 227 security guards. They just let 82 go.
I had no idea the Metropolitan had 227 security
They
guards.
just let 82 go.
I mean, I thought they had maybe 50 or 60 at the very least, but 227?
All the museums are being forced to cut back.
I mean, when you think about it, 227 security guards is a lot of people.
The museums just don't have enough money to keep up operating costs.
What I mean is 227 security guards. It's a crowd.
They're all going to be closing down a few days during the week. I know. Pretty soon there won't be any freaking culture left.
Hi, where are the museum's engagement calendars sold?
The engagement calendars would be in the gift shop. The main floor left of the check.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No.
Shot, killed with a gun.
Shot and kill.
Shot right off the face. Hey,
Or shot and gun.
have reproductions of ancient Egyptian jewelry in the museum.
Yeah, we got 4 publications, books, catalogs, magazines, glass.
Blown glass.
Oh, wow. Ceramic reproductions, big figurines, unicorn kits, table linens, dry flowers. Desktops, fresh spices.
Oh, you're so helpful.
Yeah. I'm in full to left of the check room.
Glorious. That show is wonderful.
Gloria would.
Today was the opening of Misha.
I saw Misha last week.
Really?
He was wearing his fur cape.
Oh, I love that cape. Did he have a linen vest with it?
The linen vest and an incredible raw silk
Oh,
shirt.
what color? What color?
Green. Perfect. And his tweed cap.
Oh, but not 10 boots.
Not his tan boots. His black ones.
But I wouldn't give that linen vest of his.
Well, it has to be quite a pretty, believe me.
Can you see that linen vest in my gabardine slacks?
Oh, they don't make linen like that anymore.
Or my house don't
This
skirt?
was worldwide shortage of natural fibers. We quite simply have used no
It's
love.
reversible too. On the inside, a lightweight cream wool.
Trade them.
Reverse, I could practically wear it with anything.
Or within the next few years, all of our products will be synthetic.
Synthetic? Did you say synthetic, Barbara?
Yes. Oh, I just said synthetic, Barbara. It's hardly growing cotton in the South anymore. It's just too expensive to harvest.
I can't wear synthetic.
Who can, Barbara? Who can?
Last week I bought a slip I was told was pure silk. Only to read the label 2 days later and discover it was Grossalon.
No! Do you know what Grossalon does to my skin? Shiny silk absorbent skin cements teeth.
Coated in a thin layer of petroleum.
And as for wool, because the cost of feeding sheep has skyrocketed, all the sheep farmers are going bankrupt. So there will be no more wool, cashmere, or
I've
angora.
got white patch all over my body.
From now on, it's the man-made substitutes. Oil of acrylic, blacker speculums, Kion of nylon, polyester, and cellulose. Arnold, try it. I've tried everything, Bob.
I'm desperate.
And as the cost of running museums keeps rising, the price of admission is bound to go up. Museum officials are now talking about $40 as a fixed single admission fee.
$40 to get into the Metropolitan.
$40 to get into the Metropolitan will be a bargain, Willard.
Sure.
55 before the end of the decade. The only way people will be able to is enchanted groups.
Shut up, Chris! Robert, I go to the Met by myself, or I don't go at all.
The $80 budget charter tour will include admission into the Guggenheim, Cooper Hewitt, and the Hayden Planetarium.
Stop it, can't get it anymore.
The Imperial charter tour will include admission for this same price and for $55 more into the Metropolitan, the Modern, and the Whitney Museum.
Oh,
And I don't think that the private galleries are hurting either.
the Morgan collection at the Met. The tool cuts. The snuff boxes.
The day will come when we will have to use MasterCard to get into Pace and Castelli.
Oh, have you seen the Morgan collection at the Met? Do you know the respect?
Write checks to second story Soho down.
Oh, Robert! When I stand before that cup, I can't stand 2 people within 10 feet
It's
of
the
me.
first time I've ever had a white dress.
The last time I was there, there was a swarm of screaming children.
Did you see that?
I broke out in
I
sweat.
think I'm on fire.
It's called agoraphobia.
It's getting worse.
It's what's incurable.
Oh, the handwriting is on the wall.
Our troubles have only just begun.
Look at it.
Exactly.
We're only beginning to wake up.
And when we finally do, it will be too late.
Of course, this is not the first time.
No, we've been through this before.
What's the first time I've ever had a white dress?
Well, I just hope you can retain what's most precious to us.
We've tried so hard.
And sacrificed so much.
Give it our all.
Gone more than halfway.
Held out for the best.
Fought a fair fight.
And stuck to our guns.
He's right.
You said it.
Culture, excuse me, you know it.
Is on the way out.
On the way out.
I didn't try to remember.
About the operation of the cassette you are now wearing around your neck. The small red button on the left allows you to turn me on or off at your own discretion. When you hear this beep sound, it is the signal that my commentary.
By permission slip from the director.
Terrific.
Yeah, maybe we'll fill up a checklist.
Enjoy the painting or sculpture at your own leisure.
Sir, the exit crack.
To the left of the check room.
Very pretty. Mutual tendencies.
Great.
Landscape 197. Locomotion and wax on canvas. All known from the city roof gallery.
Not only will it cost $40 to get to the Metropolitan, but because of shortage of guards, certain galleries will be roped off on odd and even days of the month.
Landscape 2, 197. Locomotion and wax on canvas. All known from the city roof gallery.
Renaissance stringed instruments on even days from noon until 3, and the medieval helmets on odd days from noon until 2, and sooner or later, the less popular exhibits will close altogether. The Etruscan bronzes, our Mid-Eastern glazed bricks.
Not a Mid-Eastern glazed bricks!
Starscape 19, 197. Locomotion, wax on canvas. All known from the artist.
And I don't think we could live with ourselves if we lost our exhibit.
All known from the artist.
One by one, Willard, all the treasures of Western civilization will be dismantled and lowered into the ground. To be grouped and cataloged by art historians wearing thick, lint-free asbestos gloves.
Are you off your meds?
We might never again stand face to face with an original painting or sculpture, and if there is no place for that painting or sculpture to be exhibited, the artist is bound to ask himself, who am I doing this? Why am I doing this? The impulse to create will be set. Willard, this might be our last day in the presence of blood.
Wait a minute! Yesterday, I was standing in front of probably the most live and stunning object of art made by man in the last 400 years. Robert, have you ever studied the Rospigliosi cup? It's a dazzler. It's this incredible scalloped seashell which rests on the back of an enameled dragon, which in turn rests on the back of an enameled turtle. It's carved out of solid gold and is no more than 10 inches high and 8 inches across. Instead of a handle, a winged sphinx perches on the rim of the cup, a gigantic Baroque pearl hanging between her golden breasts. I mean, the workmanship, the detail, the fantasy. Tiny seed pearl earrings dangle from her ears, and the best part, instead of the traditional legs and paws of a lion, she got flippers. Indigo blue flippers, which are etched in enamel. I mean, you can count each iridescent scale. Whoa!
Well, we better get ready to say goodbye to them. They won't be there in 2 weeks. All the museums are closing down.
Robert, what on earth are you talking about?
The museums, Willard, they're shutting down.
Oh, Robert, none of these things are...
Willard, we've got to do something.
Carol? Please. Guys. This is the final day of our group show, The Broken Silence. And we have here the work of an extraordinary young post-conceptual painter, Zachary Bell.
Mo saw a traditional commitment to the theoretical picture plane was no longer relevant.
Absolutely evident and no longer relevant.
Absolutely evident and no longer relevant.
For such American artists, the concern was mainly with the surface of the canvas and the nature of the pigment applied to it. One states more plainly the literal nature of the picture support covered by canvas than a piece of canvas covering that picture support painted white. If the first mark on a surface destroys its flatness, Mo contradicts this by painting a picture whose first and only mark is an all-over white one. White, of course, is the one color carrying in it the potential for all other colors.
Red,
Yellow, orange,
green, sepia, purple, rose,
turquoise, umber,
mauve,
Oh, cobalt, magenta, saffron.
The difference between historic data and the more current fundamentalist version lies in the commitment of the spectators. Rather than goading you into indignation at the desecration of art, the new data converts you into an aesthete. Their shapes and sleek surfaces, presented to you as objects wrapped in their own being, compels you to embrace a professional sensitivity to contrast of tone, light, and dimension. The more a work is purged of the inessentials, the closer scrutiny required to see it, but the more precious the sensibility required to respond to it.
Oh, you were wonderful, really just wonderful. I've never heard anything lyrical, so inspired.
Excuse me, ma'am, it's against museum regulations to sketch the artwork.
Oh, I'm not supposed to sketch without permission from a director.
Wait, how'd you know that it was against the director's permission to sketch?
Well, it's because I have sketching permission from the director.
You have sketching permission from the director? I've never heard of sketching permission from the director.
Well, see, that's because I am the director's daughter.
Oh, you're the director's daughter.
Right, the sketching director's
Oh,
daughter.
sketching director's daughter.
the fetching director's daughter. The fetching, sketching director's daughter.
Now is our chance. See that basket of clothespins over there? I'm going to steal 1 dozen of them.
Oh.
The fetching, fletching, fetching, sketching director's daughter.
Rupert, you're crazy! No! Stop! Hey, sir! Not handle the artwork.
For your information, sir, this is not an artwork as much as it is a construction.
Hey, Miss Shine, I don't care what you call it. Just put it back. Come on.
Oh boy, I'm so embarrassed. Are you accusing me of theft?
Okay, Robert, let it go. Poor man's just doing his job.
All I said. I'll have you know this is the first time a museum guard has ever raised his voice to me.
This is why we did anger man.
And let me assure you, I've been to every major arts institute in the country. The Herzog, the Walker Art Center, the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
You stop
the
talking about
Meetings,
and I know about it, and I was going to bring it up. I get it, in a place such as this, but now I think, let's go. You and I can go. Let's go.
Furthermore, this is just about the worst show I have ever seen anywhere. Robert Stinker. Robert! I'd be embarrassed to work here.
Oh, here we go again. Yeah? How about you put them back? Put them all back, come on. Test me.
That does it! I'm reporting
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now take a 10-minute intermission. Please feel free to use the restrooms as indicated by the signs and to purchase refreshments in the theater lobby. A reminder that food and drink are not allowed in the theater. Once again, it will be a 10-minute intermission.
Position and enjoy the painting or sculpture at your own leisure. When you wish to rejoin me, simply turn the button back to on, and our tour will continue.
Last day of the show. I can't believe it's the last day.
Last day?
Last day. Ed called this morning. He said Aggie might come. I know. Hilton should come around noon and bring Hilton with her. That's odd. Hilton told me to be so true. You know, Ed said Aggie has an appointment later on. Hilton didn't mention it about it. Hilton called in touch with Ed. Aggie's busy at noon. Not according to Ed. Aggie would never call Ed. You mean Hilton would never call Ed? Well, of course Hilton would never call Ed. Neither would Aggie. It's true. She never called Hilton either. But Hilton called her. She never called anyone. And he called me. She's the problem. It's the problem. And I don't trust Chelsea. She'll be here. What time is it? She'll come. I'm sure he came and left. Every time I see one of her pieces, it moves me more than the last time. This is the last day of our group show, The Broken Silence. In his earliest work, Steve Williams experimented with such typically surrealist devices as totemic imagery, often incorporating assemblages of completely unrelated objects. The idea of indicating a magically demarcated environment for his works also appeared early in his work, as did his glance on cloth and rope for basic material.
Yeah. Cloth and rope.
A surrealist past persists in his most recent work, particularly in his use of erotic imagery and his unexpected variations of color and scale.
Yeah. Highly erotic.
What makes Williams' work unusual contemporary relevance, however, his materials he uses and the processes
That's cloth and rope, right?
rather than imposing his will upon
Go on.
Williams obeys the inherent abilities of the given material and follows their suggestions. Gestures are something I heard Williams' work.
college. We met at Port Authority bus terminal. It was so odd going with Abby. I mean, whenever you see her in her studio, her hands are always full, molding something, gluing something. Her studio is bursting with the exotic. Bird beaks, fish skeletons, fox claws.
I'm Aggie's oldest friend. I've known her for years.
So I just assumed she always had these things, that they were part of her. Not that there was something that she had to go and seek out. So it was odd meeting Abby at Port Authority, carrying those two blue suitcases stuffed with polyester padding.
She's invited me on her expeditions millions of times. Of course
I don't remember the name of the park we visited, but Abby seemed to know her way around. And before I knew it, we were walking through deep woods. Deep woods is the best place to find small animal skeletons, she told me. As I looked up at the trees in the sky, Aggie bent close to the ground and began to run her hands through the underbrush like some human net. In the first hour, she found a bat skeleton, several raccoon skulls, some patches of fur.
Aggie's only 24, you know, and so beautiful.
At one moment, she was crouched low to the ground. The next, she was holding fragile white bones up to the sun, exclaiming over their hurt.
She has amazing blonde hair. It's as thick as rope and falls down her back in golden cascades.
After a while, she had put both her suitcase and she asked if she could borrow mine. We stopped for lunch and she gave me a long talk about how calcium is formed in the bones of vegetarian
And
animals.
her eyes are this deep green.
Before long, she had filled my suitcase too, and it was starting to get dark. I told her we better head back before we got lost, but she said no, she couldn't stop yet.
And die over her.
It was then I noticed something strange. Well, I didn't notice it so much as I heard it, because it was getting too dark to see. As she was combing the underbrush, I heard this soft kind of licking noise, like eating, but not really chewing or swallowing, just licking and tasting. Is that you, Abby? I called. But she never answered. It was such a light, muffled sound. She could have been sucking on a mint. I told her we'd better head back before it got dark, and we got lost. This time, with real anger in her voice, she said no! And then the licking or kissing or whatever it was got louder. We reached a clearing. The trees dropped away. The moon shone down on Aggie's bent form, and that's when I saw it. She was holding one of those skeletons up to her mouth and was licking it, running her tongue over it. I screamed. She dropped the whole thing and turned white. Next thing I knew, she was hitting me all over my body, screaming and crying, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you!
I'm not listening to this.
All artists are crazy.
Her perceptual gifts are extraordinary.
Nuts, all of them.
You made it up! You made it all up! That didn't happen! None of it happened!
You'd have to be crazy to make this stuff.
Alice Bob's breath reeks.
Thank you very much.
Her breath is foul.
You made it up! You've never been invited on one of her expeditions, and you know it! It's your jealousy, Tink. Your relentless jealousy! And it's hateful! Hateful! Hateful!
I always noticed a certain animal quality about her breath, like a certain rancidness. You know how some people have breath that just doesn't smell quite human?
It was at my insistence that Agnes Bob was invited to exhibit in this show.
Before I went there, you guys were pretty worried.
Girls, are you looking back? Modern art! Landscape work, 197. Acrylic, emulsion, and wax on canvas. Unload from the Cindy Rubin Keller.
And you have to be nuts to even look at the stuff. I mean, sucking on statues? Yeah, miss, normal people don't suck on statues. This place is full of weirdos, and this museum, I almost call it. Is this art? Really? Preschoolers could have made that. And 3 blank canvases. Wow, that's incredible! Oh, what's this? A plant? You ever seen that? Except that's the authority! Hey! Let me go! Wait, can you be
Asia for pieces is a small miracle.
Yeah, I know.
No, you don't know. Nobody knows.
Okay.
But there's a surprise.
Yeah.
Miss Bob told me she hid a special secret inside each piece. It's not visible to the naked eye. It can only be found through vibrations of touch or sound. Doesn't ask the dog as long. She always takes it. I've got 12 and that's 7. Only 7 take more. Guys, I have not seen a round-handed clothespin without a spring in years. Challenge me. Find the miracle tape. Find it on the last day. Hi, Miss Bob. Told me she had a special surprise inside each piece. She challenged me. Find it on the last day.
Last day. Today is the last day.
The last day?
The last day.
I didn't realize it was the last day.
Today is the last day.
The last day.
That's right. It's against museum regulations to photograph the artworks.
Zachary Moe.
Look at that girl. She's touching one of the statues. Wait, but today's the last day. Giorgio, look.
But I came here to photograph Bill Stevens' clothesline.
I get that. You said Bill Stevens? It's actually Steve Williams.
Steve Stevens?
No, Steve Williams.
I thought his name was Bill Stevens.
Stevens.
William Stevenson?
Steve Williamson.
Williamson.
Stevenson?
Oh, Williams. Williams.
No, Steve. Williams.
Williams.
Steve Williams.
Artist always have such tricky names.
His parents were deaf, I believe.
She's not supposed to be doing that.
Hey, it's against museum regulations to photograph the artworks without permission from the director.
Oh, I have permission
Oh,
from the rector.
from the director.
Daddy, she's going to get into trouble.
Daddy's the director.
Giorgio, look.
Very interesting.
Daddy, oh, that means that your sister's here too.
She's touching it.
Really, Rush?
I love Steve Stevens' work.
It's extraordinary how much of the detail you miss when you don't take the time to truly examine an art piece.
Like, I wanted to photograph a real Bill Stevenson.
Oh, hey, sir, please don't smell the painting. What are you doing?
I mean, examining the brushwork.
I know. Zachary Moe, not use a brush.
Giorgio,
He used a roller?
No.
keep on staring.
Stain technique.
No.
Spilling.
No.
Cooling.
No.
Scumbling.
No.
Blotting.
No.
Toweling.
No.
Shit.
No.
Airbrush.
Yeah, airbrush. That's the
I knew it all along. So you see an airbrush in successive layers of paint. Most stresses the
Come
actuality.
on,
of the surface.
Giorgio, let's go. I'm bored.
It's the consequent affirmation of the picture plane that makes it difficult to penetrate the
I
atmosphere.
found it! I found it! I found it!
have no idea.
Of course, there are precedents for her art, but
I'll never forget this day.
She must have snuck it in after the installation of the show and set it all up.
None of the guards are told.
She is vindicated through me, through me! Blakey. Guys. Guys. Guys.
Busy? Oh. Yeah, last day of my show.
oh, clothing.
Busy.
Boy.
I am swamped.
Colonial quilts and weather vanes are slow. I only have 3 people this morning.
Yeah, I probably sold about $150 worth of postcards in the last hour.
You know, my show sells 2 more weeks. I don't know how I'm going to make it. It's so slow.
Engagement calendars, they're not doing so well, but they just can't get enough of those postcards.
Very slow.
Yeah, the photographer's given out three photographers permission to photograph the artworks.
3?
Yeah. Oh, a sketch.
Oh, a sketch.
Man.
You busy this morning? I'm swamped.
Very slow. Only 3 people. You look pretty busy.
Oh, yeah. It's the last day of my show.
I have not been as busy as this since my American Abstract show last spring.
I just about sold out your catalogs there, buddy.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Thursdays are slow.
Thursdays are slow, but Tuesdays.
Tuesdays. Saturdays are pretty bad.
I'd rather work a Saturday than a Sunday, though.
Sundays aren't so bad.
Oh, yeah, Sundays are that.
I don't mind Sundays.
Yeah, Sundays. Yeah, Sundays are cool.
You know, they keep stealing my clothes.
Did you hear the radio this morning?
Those European museums have crap for security! Any maniac can get away with anything in a European museum. Look what happened to Michelangelo's Piazza.
And that Rembrandt last year. Slashed with a bread knife.
That's right, it would never happen here.
Huh, very true. American security is the best.
That's why we're number 1 on security!
First, the best! I would go as far to say that American museums have the tightest security in the entire world.
Yeah, you said it, that's right, the best!
True, I mean, like they're just all nuts over there, you know? Yeah. I mean, what a bunch of violent crazies. In America, we never shoot at paintings.
Well, they don't get away with it over there, so that just encourages them to be violent.
True. I mean, when you think about it, what's the worst thing that's ever happened over here? Some nut was getting spray paint that washes right up.
Everyone's nuts these days.
Did you hear he said to shop the thing? Cursed is the ground for thy sake.
Well, cursed is the ground for thy sake.
It's what Adam said to Eve when she ate the apple. Crazy balloons. I mean, they're all nuts. Not some religion over there. It pumped 18 bullets in the damn thing before it's restrained. 18.
Hey, look what I found this morning. Someone must have dropped it.
What's that?
It's a piece of rose quartz.
It looks more like pink tourmaline to me.
This isn't rose quartz or pink tourmaline. It's rhodocorsite.
Rhodocorsite for crap, it's rose quartz.
It's a little too dense and opaque to be rose quartz.
Too dense. You want a quartzite.
Dense? This isn't dense, it's translucent.
There are semi-translucent varieties of rhodocorsite.
No, there are semi-translucent and opaque varieties of pink tourmaline. Pink tourmaline.
Listen. Rhodocorsite. It's worth a lot more than rose quartz or pink tourmaline for that matter. Yeah, you got something to say about it? Come on, bro.
I've got our assignments for lunch hour.
God, I hate working.
It's not too bad. Since Lou and George were let go last week, you'll be
my shelves. I'm gonna ask you.
He'll be back in a half hour. I just need you to cover for him in the gift shop so he can really God out.
I don't think it's a good idea to leave the room unattended.
It's orders.
Oh, come on, you know what closings are like. People, they steal things.
Jimmy!
What? yeah, I know closings.
You mean the kind without the spring in the middle?
Yeah. Jeez. We used to have those. Huh.
You know, I thought my American National show was busy, but I've got to hand it to yours is busier.
Come on. What? You gotta get out of here quietly if nobody's going to notice anything. Alright. Sneak right up on it. James Bond style. Yeah, I like that. So bad. Guys, I don't care what you say.
That's Steve Williams.
Got the artist. How do you look familiar? Steve Williams.
It's Steve Stevens. He's dressed just like himself. Portrait. Steve Williams.
Steve Williams was born on October 30th, 1971. He studied at the Leonardo da Vinci School and had his first exhibit at the Alexi Gallery, San Francisco in 1982. An exhibition of animal heads in cement, which in their open framework and pitted surfaces were a powerful refutation of the prevailing modern traditions of neat forms, clean surfaces, and truth to materials. Williams lived in Paris from 1982 to 1988, where she exhibited in a group show at the Galerie Mage, visited Giacometti's studio, and was exposed to and impressed by the works of Paul Klee, Dada, and Surrealism. His sculpture thereafter presented anguished images of the anonymity of modern man, using cast-off objects assembled according to an indisputably human framework. Since 1998, Williams' sculptures, although still governed by the principles of assemblage, comprise more simply structured, monumental components incorporated with technological precision into quite different icons of modernity.
I thought I was going to die. Just leap to the ground, close my eyes, and just quietly just die.
Harrison isn't going to
Oh
believe
my
this.
God, I will never get over this. Stay.
His pieces sell for over 200,000. 200,000!
Giorgio, let's take something as a remembrance.
Stevens.
A clothespin, something he touched. Yeah, something that he touched. Something he touched.
Close the beat. Close it.